All right, Mike. I think we've got everybody here. So thank you all for joining us for this afternoon session. This is going to be the fire service and emergency management working together. And I'm introduce Mike Grenia with the Division of Fire Safety. So Mike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Harry. I just want to double check on visual and audio.
You're good.
All right. Greetings, everyone. Uh, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, and we're very happy to be part of this hybrid sessions today. And we're going to try and make this a little bit interactive right after lunchtime, so you don't get the sleeps. But so for those who have not done a lot in Teams, at the very top, you will see reactions in a bar at the top. That's for raising your hand or acknowledging or anything like that. And then also you can put information in the chat, questions or stuff like that. So okay, I am Michael Grenia. I'm the section chief of the public education section of the Division of Fire Safety, and I'm involved with a lot of different groups and national groups and stuff like that. So my contact information is right there. So if you folks want to reach out after this, more than happy to work with different things. So the first question here is, who is in the room and who is online? Harry, I'll need probably your assistance with this to kind of see what's happening in the room there, seeing as how I'm remote. But if folks would just raise their hand, if they're a responder, I'll give you a couple minutes here. Raise your hand if you're emergency management or EMD or and local officials or other. You guys got the hang of it here. Looking pretty good.
All right, Mike, here in the room, we've got 14 first responders, 17 of your EM folks, and then one of the local official / other.
Great. Wonderful. So you see, we have a wide range of folks here, and this class is kind of developed out of an idea and some of my work in a group that's called Vision 2020, and it really jumped out at me when I was going through my edition of Firehouse and found an article that talked about how to increase community risk reduction efforts and involving emergency management and folks like that. So we kind of put this together, this class together, to figure out ways that we can be better together and combining the efforts of the fire service and emergency management and enhancing the partnerships in local community. And it's really the next step in what we're doing to protect our locations and in towns. So it seems that we're going from one crisis to another over the last few years here. Pandemics, civil unrest, terrorism, and we always have the ever-present fire risk in the towns. The fire service and emergency management kind of are operating kind of in parallel, and but their goals are pretty much the same: saving lives and property through prevention, mitigation, response, and recovery. So why not start putting folks together and figuring out how we can work together and enhance local risk reduction programs. Um, in the fire service, we're starting to see growth in CRR programs, community risk reduction programs, and even in Vermont here, we've seen um, a change in the mindset, and the biggest mindset change that we're seeing is the prevention, and we're seeing more and more prevention happen, and it's not just visiting schools and showing off the fire trucks and stuff like that, but it's also getting into the community and figuring out where we can be most effective. So the definition of a community risk reduction, it's a process, and it looks at the risks that are local, identifies those risks and then prioritizes them. And then after that, it's looking at the investment of resources in those risk areas. And the ultimate is to reduce their occurrence and impact. Everybody has a role to play in community risk reduction. Um, and it's basically, we're looking to try and change thoughts, habits, and behaviors, which can be a difficult thing. Um, it may not be a immediate thing. It may be something that's a long process, or um, takes quite a bit of work. And it's more than one group or organization can do. So that's why we really look at the partnerships and things of that nature. So the approach of a community risk reduction program is we identify the life safety risks in town, prioritize those risks, determine how we can prevent or mitigate those areas, refocus efforts, and it allows us to become more of a community player, and it helps us use our resources much better than we have in the past. Um, we all know that we have limited resources in the state, and in the fire service, we've done a lot of regional type programs in fire prevention. We call that fire prevention mutual aid. And with community risk reduction, it's expanding that, and it's bringing more folks, maybe not in the emergency services, in there. Other partners that may be available in your local area, and it depends on each different area. There's the risks are different in each town, and the availability of resources are different in each town. So there's a 6-step approach in the community risk reduction. You've seen a lot of that earlier. This has been pretty much been adopted nationwide, and comes from the Vision 2020 project, like I said, and also NFPA has incorporated a lot of this into a new standard that is out there, and a lot of it is coming into the codes of the state, talking about different community risk reduction approaches. So we need to identify the risks locally, prioritize, which is the biggest one that we want to work on, make a difference on. We want to develop some strategies to try and figure out ways that we can attack that. And then we come up with a plan, trying to put together a plan of ways that we can tackle that, put that plan into place. And then after that, we look at evaluating what we did and monitoring, and maybe we need to modify something. Maybe it didn't work as well as it should have. This area, the evaluation and stuff like that, is an area that personally I've had a lot of problems with doing. But it's a very important step. It's huge in helping you justify future programs or funding or grants or anything like that. A lot of times the grantors want to know that they're effectively spending, the grant dollar the best they can. And that's one way that we really need to work on that. And there's some resources out there that we'll talk about here in a little bit about that. So thinking just off the top of your head, what are some of the common risks in your area? And I'll give you a couple minutes here. You can either put them in chat or shout them out in the room or something like that. We have anything from the room, Harry?
So far, we've got flooding,
Uh-huh.
tourist or tourism traffic.
Especially in key areas like mine.
Our town has got one of the railroad designated propane storage sites. So we got 1.5 million gallons of propane that comes and goes whenever they want. No security, no fence, no monitors, nothing.
Mike, are you able to hear that at all or no?
Yes. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
That's right in the
very
center.
unique situation.
Take out the whole down.
And it really goes to show that there's so many differences and in different areas. So first we look at the data, and a lot of people aren't data geeks like some of us are, but it's an area that we need to look at, and a lot of this data is out there already, and it's basically just bringing it all together, looking at history, looking at the fire and EMS run data, or NFIRS or Siren, or those types of things that we can pull common problems and things out of. The demographics of the area, housing and infrastructure, and community assets are some of the huge places that we can gather those types of information that we need to do a risk assessment with. Some of the other sources: a town emergency operation or action plan, the Census Bureau, that they offer information that you can look up very easily. And different agencies in the state, health, Department of Health and the Division of Fire Safety and stuff like that, puts out a lot of information, and we can use that information to look at who's at risk and where they're at risk and those types of things. And there's also resources online, and those are some of the websites. The actual plan, there's a sample plan on the Vision 2020 site, some directional type things, and also the NFPA standard on conducting risk assessments.
And Mike, there's a comment in the chat that just says, this approach sounds very much like the local hazard mitigation plan that EMDs do every 5 years. These plans are submitted to FEMA for approval, and most towns use a multidisciplinary team to develop those plans.
Very true, very true. And, you know, that goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, that we're doing this work now. And it's kind of pulling the two together and trying to complete the cycle a little bit better. So where else could we get some local data from?
Mike, in the room, we've got town hall as an option.
Yep, very good.
Tier 2 data.
Tier 2.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Local word of mouth, like local histories, historical societies, that kind of thing.
Yes, very true, very true. And kind of like the little exercise we just did, your own thoughts and history, and just thinking about what's here. You know, we may have a elderly care facility that's in town that we need to be thinking about. Huge life safety hazard there. And like I said, there are resources out there. This is a data hub, discover what they call the data hub on the Vision 2020 site. And this puts it into a map type format. And it talks about the demographics, fire incidents. It is a few years old, but it talks about heart disease and stroke and all kinds of different risks that are there. And you can zoom in to different towns and stuff like that. There are a couple others. There's some private software out there that you can tap into. There is some other software that does charge, for the access, but personally, I kind of like the free stuff. But so yeah, there are other resources out there, and there's more and more that is coming online. So we look at the risks area, and then we try to prioritize them. And then there's a pretty simple way to do that. You've probably seen this before. The serious of the impact, low, medium, high, the probability of occurring, and what the seriousness of the impact would be. And then we kind of look at it from there and try to figure out which area to focus in on. Now, we talk a lot about getting ahead of the call, and we use what we call the 5 E's in a lot of our programs at the Division of Fire Safety. And it takes in different components of there to solve an issue. So the emergency response is exactly that. It's the responders, it's the fire departments and rescue squads and police and all those other folks. Education, engineering, smoke alarms, those types of things. Enforcement is the code level requirements that are enforced by the division. Economic incentive. Now, we're not talking about paying people to be safe, but the economic incentive is offering things for free. Whenever we're putting together programs and stuff like that, either for the fire department or the community, we try to do it, excuse me, as cost effective as we can to be able to offer that as a free service. And you know, a lot of times we have to tap into grants and stuff like that. Sometimes we want to try and use as many of these E's as possible, but sometimes that's not possible. Um, for example, enforcement in a single family home is not really in our jurisdiction area for the division. So we have to do that as in a education and emergency response perspective, and the economic incentive and the engineering piece can be used there too. So underlying these 5 E's is another E, and that's evaluation. Like I said before, we need to evaluate those programs and figure out how we can do better. And again, preparing the plan, there's some resources there that actually sample plans and stuff like that that are available. Putting the plan into action, um, kind of a pie chart here. Again, we're looking at trying to figure out the resources that we're going to need to assist us in this. Try to set up a timeline and assign some folks to it, trying to figure out our goals and expectations. And then pretty much the monitoring is pretty much through the whole thing, but there is a part of the pie here. And then we can make adjustments as needed for issues that are coming up that we may see. So putting together a program, putting it into place, we need to recognize what community risk reduction is and isn't. Fire prevention is or community risk reduction is not a new name for fire prevention. Community risk reduction is just a process that takes the different E's and puts it together, and it looks at the threats that are in the local community and then tries to put together programs that are going to address those areas. We do a lot in high risk neighborhoods and towns and those types of things. And basically, because of a rural nature we have, it's pretty much all of us that are at a higher risk, simply by where we live here in Vermont. We want to try and put together someone that's kind of supervising things, a program manager. Now that can be anybody. You know, that doesn't have to be someone that's in emergency services or emergency management. We kind of need someone that can put together the program and recruit folks for it and stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be a firefighter or a chief of the fire department or anything like that. It may be just a community member who wants to help out. It might be a good project. We want to try and make the program outcome based. We want to try to pinpoint measurable outcomes that we can do. Again, the evaluation component is something that that we're all trying to figure out better ways that we can do that. And we want to do that by measuring different ways, different things during our program. And we can, we can do that through surveys. We can do that through reports of from different folks that are out there in the field talking to people or things of that nature. We definitely want to make it local. We want to make it about the community. We can definitely borrow ideas. We're always trying to share what we have and do more and more for free, like I said. But we want to make sure that it's a community-based type of thing. We want it to be impactful at a local level. Marketing is a piece that we'll hear about a little bit more about media and things like that. We also need to think about utilizing social media, not just Facebook and Twitter, but the other ones that are there, because different generations are using different medias now. And the other thing is thinking about an app for your department, adding it to your web page or something like that. The research has found that today's generations are more likely to click on an app than do a search on a web page for the information. It's all about the instant information that folks crave today. So looking at monitoring and evaluation, we want to make sure that we can, during the program, we can make adjustments. And we want to try and meet those goals, those end goals of the program. And if, like I said, if there is a issue that needs to be changed or addressed, that we can do that during the program. We want to try and uncover unexpected benefits. There may be, for example, folks that you're able to connect with that may not necessarily have connections in the community. And we can use the data to show the value of the program and our success of the program. On the evaluation front, there is some, again, guidance that come out and is talking about different things that can help figure out the measurement and things like that, again, on the Vision 2020 site. So there's a few different in-state programs that are happening out there. I can show you the Fire Safe 802 program. Now, this is a program that we were able to get funding for a few years ago through the Firefighter Act Prevention and Safety Grant. And that was working with local fire departments and other community volunteers to go out in the community and make sure that they had smoke alarms, make sure they had carbon monoxide alarms, and make sure that their living conditions were safe. And we've applied for a part 2, second to this, And we're keeping our fingers crossed that FEMA is going to be able to help us out in this next phase. You see, we've covered quite a bit of the state. However, down south, we'd like to see more of the little locator markers. You see that the colored areas are high risk, identified as high risk areas. And you see some of the locations of our fire deaths over the last few years. And again, this program is out there trying to help folks set up a safety day or safety Saturday, or take on as they need them or find them or get requests, local teams that can go out and assist folks. Another program is through the Red Cross, Sound the Alarm program. That's operating in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont through the Northern New England chapter of the Red Cross. We actually just did one in Williston and Heinsberg, and we're able to visit 51 homes, installed 148 smoke alarms, and 41 CO alarms. And there was some little bit of outreach into other communities, Essex, Jericho, Richmond, Huntington, I believe, was also on the list. And this is kind of, excuse me, set up the same way. Teams go out and assist folks with different issues at home, make sure the smoke alarms are installed properly, and make sure that they're replaced and tested, and help folks with different things like that. So that's two programs that are active right now. And that you can access those programs. Fire Safe 802 can talk to myself and at the Division of Fire Safety, and you can contact the Red Cross. They do all over the state with that program. We're in discussions right now of trying to put together a little bit more focused program up in Lamoille County area. But yeah, they have teams pretty much year round that'll go out and help put together different situations to help them. And they're also there with assistance to emergency responders during disasters, and the canteen service to help with firefighter response and stuff like that. So they're actually a huge resource to pull in. So this is kind of the last piece. Is since we've gone through this whole thing, I'd like to have a little bit of discussion on what other things that we can do together to help keep our communities safe. So we'll kind of open it up. If you're online, you can unmute yourself and we'll have a little discussion, or if you're in the room, we can talk a little bit about some other ideas.
Networking between different community groups within the town.
Say that again. You're
Hey, Mike, it's Alex.
Hey there.
I was just thinking about different parts of the community, different commissions, like the Planning and Zoning Commission, Historical Society, obviously the Fire Department, EMS, trails, any kind of groups within the town that could add to an idea of where we have risks in the local community.
Most definitely. Yep. A lot of times we'll when we do safety days, Either at the fire station or the rescue squad building, will pull in a lot of different folks. There is a lot of opportunity out there. I remember we used to, in my former department, we used to go to the farmers market and just set up a display to talk to people and things like that. So, yeah. Like I said, we all have an interest in reducing the risks that are taking place in our town. We may not all realize that we have a role to play, but we definitely do. Any other thoughts of folks?
Anyone else have any thoughts for Mike?
Hey, Mike, this is Sean from
Hey,
Northwest Regional Planning. Hi, long time no see.
I know it.
Which is a good thing, I think.
Yes, true.
I think one of the risks, like this is kind of an unusual risk, but like one of the risks and something that we're talking about a lot over here or up here and all over the state is recruitment and retention and not getting people on a lot of the first response crews, finding volunteers, trying to get the youth interested in doing that. And I'm just wondering, throw it out to the group, like what are some of the strategies that people are doing to try to make sure that the departments have staff on board to respond to incidents?
Yeah, that's a huge issue for all of us. Not just emergency services, but folks to serve on the town boards and town committees and regional committees and those types of things. Firefighters Association. There's there's a serious lack of folks that are stepping up now like they used to. In another course that I've done with at BTC and a couple other things, talks about some possible things that that folks can do, and I would kind of go down the road of fire prevention mutual aid. If you're doing a big event, maybe you talk to your neighbors and departments nearby to come in and help, and then you go help them when they're doing something. But again, folks coming into different services it's becoming quite an issue. I don't know if other folks have thoughts.
Mike, I would encourage, use of things like Front Porch Forum and stuff like that, because, as you know, in my previous life, people would stop by the fire station and, if I had pulled over 10 cars on that main road and asked, is this fire department volunteer, paid, or a combination, I would have gotten, 3, 3, and 4 as the answers, and nobody really seemed to know. So I think it's about educating folks, and if they knew that there was a need, maybe you would get a few more. I'm not saying it's going to fix the problem, but I do think there's a lot of people just have this assumption that my fire department, especially if they come from out of state, my fire department is fully paid, and when I have a call, they're going to show up with all these people in fire trucks and whatever. And if we kind of let them know, hey, it's not like that, we could use some volunteers and things like that. And I think the other hook that I think is good is just invite somebody down to check out a meeting or whatever. Don't go for the gusto right out of the gate of let's sign you up and get some gear on you today. Come down, check it out, get to meet the folks, and see if you can kind of hook them that way. Because a lot of times people will get just from checking it out, And maybe I'll come back next week and then it just starts the process. But, sometimes we go too fast to try and get them to, sign away right now and commit to something.
Well, like Harry, up in Underhill, Jericho, we had a lot of programs where folks could help the department out. They didn't come in to necessarily be a firefighter, go inside or anything like that. We had folks that just worked on grants for us, and
Cars.
numerous other folks.
Yep.
So yeah, it is an area that a lot of folks are struggling with. There is some work nationally on those issues and stuff like that, and there's not really a huge answer out there. Um, that's an area that like I said, we're all struggling with. Even the career departments are not able to get um, applicants like they used to. I thought I saw a hand up, but I guess they lowered it. But
Mike, I get a question.
sure.
You were mentioning the fire alarms, the smoke detectors, the CO2 detectors. Is there any programs that purchase those that can be given out to people?
Yes, the Fire Safety 802 program. That's part of the grant that's we're hopefully going to get. That provided free alarms to the departments that got onto the program. The Red Cross program is a total free program. In fact, in Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine are one of the few programs nationwide that offers smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. The National Red Cross doesn't really look at the CO issue that is out there, where in New England here we really see that as an issue. So those are a couple of resources for you. And yeah, like I said, if it's something that you want to bring to the locality, then give me a holler and we'll figure out how to get you guys some alarms.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone have any last minute questions here as we wrap up?
Looks like we got a hand up.
That was John who just asked.
That's John's. Okay.
All right, Mike. I think
Okay.
we're good on the questions.
Alrighty. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking time to go through this session. And like I said, if something comes up later on, definitely give me a holler. And I'm sure this will be available, so you can find those links and go through that, or drop me an email and I can send them off to you.
Yeah, we did record this, Mike. We're going to put it up on our VEM YouTube page so people can go to it after the fact. And thank you for making the plug earlier. You mentioned the media. Our next session is going to be Mark Bosma from VEM doing a Don't Fear the Media call. So that'll start at 2:00. So hopefully we'll see the folks at home back at that time and the folks in the room here too. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.